It occurred to me that I haven't done a story on Khanna in a while, and that's mainly because I just haven't found much reason to talk about him. But he's doing something fairly courageous. Representative Khanna doubled down on his comments from earlier this week, calling for Senator Dianne Feinstein to resign, saying that the country should have someone who can vote. Feinstein, 89, has not voted in the Senate since February and remains in California while dealing with a severe case of shingles, which at one point required hospitalization. While Feinstein is out, Democrats cannot nominate or vote through new judges because of her seat in the Senate Judiciary Committee, as Khanna explained. I have a lot of respect for Senator Feinstein's public service, but we're in a crisis in this country, Khanna said Saturday on MSNBC. The single biggest thing this president can do with the Republican House is confirm judges, and Senator Dick Durbin has said we're not able to confirm judges. Feinstein offered to step away from her seat on the Senate Judiciary Committee this week, but that move requires approval from Republicans on the committee and still hampers full Senate votes in her absence. With Feinstein gone, Democrats only hold 50 seats in the body, giving them a tie with Republicans. Every day that goes by is one less day this president has to appoint a judge to push back against the assault on women's rights and voting rights, Khanna said. He also said that multiple lawmakers have privately shown support for her resignation. Feinstein has already said she will not run for re-election in 2024, and a suit of younger California Democrats have gotten in line to take her place. Representatives Barbara Lee, Adam Schiff, and Katie Porter have all declared their candidacies for the seat. Khanna has supported Lee at Feinstein's replacement and said that California Governor Gavin Newsom should appoint her to the empty seat if Feinstein were to resign. Newsom has previously pledged she would appoint a black woman to the seat. Lee is one of the most extraordinary people in modern American history, the most consistent anti-war voice. He said on Saturday, whether the governor appoints a caretaker or her, he should appoint African American women. There's not a single African American woman in the United States Senate in 2023. That should be an embarrassment to our country, he added. Senator John Fetterman, Democrat of Pennsylvania, has also been absent from the Senate for 2 months as he sought support for depression. He and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who was recovering from a concussion, will return this week following the April recess. It's really sad that there's only been 2 black women that have been elected to the Senate. I mean, they give the Democrats, 80-90% of their vote, and only 2 of them have made it to the upper chamber of Congress. Carol Mosley, Braun, and Harris. And hopefully Lee will be the 3rd one, but knowing my luck with elections, Schiff will probably make it in. So here's the thing. I agree with pretty much everything Khanna said except for the part about respect for Senator Feinstein's public service, because what has she done? She kind of let a little bit on gun control, mainly because it affected her with the Moscone and Milk assassinations. And outside of that, she's just been your standard blue dog Democrat. And as someone who's not a fan of her, I know my opinion may be biased because I in her last election, which was 2018, I voted for Allison Hartson. That was the TYT-backed candidate in the primary, and then Kevin De Leon in the general election. So I am not her fan in the slightest, but this isn't even about her. This is about having a senator who not only can't come to work, but is actively playing a role in the president of her party not being able to do anything. I mean, think of a private sector job where you could just not come to work for almost 2 full months and they would keep you on. I had a conversation with somebody and they said that, oh, what about Ted Kennedy? Because for his last year in the Senate, he was often bedridden, missed a bunch of votes. And the difference between now and then is that back then in 2009, the Democrats had a supermajority, or rather a majority that was big enough to where they could miss one senator. He wasn't on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He had been on there during the 80s when he blocked Robert Bork. So him being absent really wasn't that big of a deal in terms of actually stopping things from getting passed. In her case, she's on the Senate Judiciary Committee and again is playing a big role in Biden not being able to pass these judges. And judges, for a person like him who's got a very slim majority and probably is not going to get the House back in, I was just saying, 2024. It's just my prediction. This will be one of the only ways to really cement a legacy. It's one of the few things that Trump did that actually will last. these judges. So to have someone from your own party who just can't come to work, no matter how much you claim to like them and are personal friends with them, I think you should say, hey, look, you either can come or step down. I'm trying to make it clear to people that it's not like the election's going to be held next week and then the person gets sworn in after that, a week later or a few days later. If these Democrats get their way, we're going to have one California senator, which is Padilla, and then another senator who is not going to show up to work and block Biden being able to confirm judges for the next 18 months, because the next senator, whether it's Lee or Schiff or Porter, and hopefully it's Lee, will not be sworn in until 2025. So that means we have potentially an entire calendar year of just Feinstein missing. And look, I know that for people who don't like the progressive wing, Khanna's comments can come off as being very self-interested because he's saying that Newsom should appoint Lee, the person that he's the campaign co-chair of, in the event that Feinstein resigns. But again, Newsom is the one that said he would appoint an African-American woman, and she's the only African-American woman in the race. So I don't see where he really has many options unless he just picks some random other member of the House. But even then, I don't think he'll do that. It's really sad that people they actually tried to say that Khanna was sexist, and people who support getting rid of a senator who can't do her job are sexist. That we have some problem with women, but we're not calling for the resignations of Gillibrand or Warren or Collins or Murkowski, if you want to reach across to the Republican side, because those are people who actually show up to work and who are there, if not every day, then they're not missing weeks or months worth of votes. And sure enough, before she started to just miss votes repeatedly, nobody was calling for her resignation. Rose certainly wasn't. So I don't know. It just seems like anytime there's a woman, especially one that's on the left wing side, I wouldn't even say left wing, but Democrat. Anytime there's one that's a Democrat, there seems to be this push that if you criticize them in any way, you're being sexist. This is something that Sanders ran into, where people were saying, "Why are you trying to stop the first woman Democratic nominee from coming into a all the just dumb stuff where you can't have any ideological or legitimate concerns about a person's role in screwing up your democracy without being labeled as having a problem with women." So I do feel bad that he's getting smeared, but then again, I forgot that modern politics is pretty much 10% policy and 90% misrepresentation, smears, and platitudes. And it's really sad because out of all the people that are actually addressing this stuff who are on the seeming opposing side, Feinstein's the only one that was like, okay, you know what? I know I'm blocking votes. Let me just resign from the Senate Judiciary Committee, but then she can't because of the situation as they explain in the article. But it's crazy to me that if you're already retiring and you're going to be gone in less than 2 years anyway, and we have no idea when you're possibly going to recover, because this isn't the only issue with her. She also has mental acuity problems that people don't want to admit to. And they just, I just don't get the logic of it. You have to really hate your own party, or rather, you have to really crave power. You have to say, oh, I'm going to have my 5 full terms in the Senate before I step down, regardless of if my last 2 years are a disgrace and lead to no one being able to vote for or confirm any judges. That's the only logic I could see behind it. So what I hope happens is Feinstein resigns, even though I doubt she will, because these people care mostly about themselves. I mean, she's not going to have to worry about reproductive rights or, the environment getting us in 20 or 30 years, because she won't be here. But it's like these people keep on the power, and even if it doesn't affect them, they still can't show any slight modicum of courage. So I hope she resigns, but I doubt she will. And if she did, I would prefer if Newsom picked Lee. And Newsom is stupid because he should have. This is why I said Democrats love pandering. You have a party that has a bunch of lawmakers. Because I personally would rather have Roe as senator above any California congressman or congresswoman. I just me and him seem to align the most on issues. Although I'll admit that Lee is a good secondary option, but it's like, well, I'm not gonna go for the person most qualified. I'm just gonna check off this box, and that's really disturbing because Lee is someone like who I actually want as senator, but because he just said African American woman, that means he could pick any old random person with the vague positions or who's against our stuff. He could pick Maxine Waters. Like, God, that's the worst part of about these like checking off these boxes because it has nothing to do with ideology, um, which plays a direct role in democracy getting screwed over even more because now you can have lawmakers that are completely antithetical to you, but because they have the same ethnicity as some other group that they're screwing over, people think you're satisfied. I'm just imagining he puts Condoleezza Rice on the scene. I shouldn't say that out loud. I might will it into existence. But yeah, I think she's an idiot for uh, staying on that seat, knowing the damage she's doing. Her career has been trash. I'm glad to see her go. And I hope Barbara Lee wins that seat or is appointed to it before 2025 so we can actually have a senator that does stuff.